and welcome to the Jim Baker Show. I'm your co-host, Tammy Sue Baker. Today's special guest, William Koenig, John Shorey. And now please give a warm welcome to my parents and the host of the Jim Baker Show, Jim and Lori Baker.
Welcome to Grace Street. Really happy to have you here.
Yes.
And don't miss this program. So don't go away and turn your TV off, because I believe this is one of the most important shows that I've ever done. I believe you're going to have answers to questions you have been asking. William Koenig is here from the White House.
Thank you, Jim.
Good to have you here.
Great to be back.
Where do you live in the Holy Land? Do you have a little place you go there?
We stay in Jerusalem. We're
in Jerusalem.
Yeah, 3-4 times a year, right in the heart of Jerusalem.
Oh, I envy you.
Our favorite city.
My favorite city.
Absolutely.
Once you fall in love with Jerusalem, you never fall out of love.
Absolutely, Jim.
I just love it there.
Yeah.
I envy you being there a lot.
Thank you.
On the other side, you live in the swamp in D.C., right?
We're going to talk about that today.
Yeah,
I'm going to talk.
We do, Lori.
I was interviewing your wife. I need to have her on the show one day, because I was interviewing her in the green room, and I'm asking her what's it like living in the swamp, really, living in D.C., because there's spirits there.
Yeah.
Do you feel the spirits there? There's a warfare?
Absolutely. Jerusalem and Washington, D.C., probably two of the most intense spiritual cities in the world. And we have friends that when they come to visit us in D.C., they feel that. Principalities. And,
yes, you do.
And there's that's what we're seeing right now like never before. I don't think we've ever seen a time such as this where there is such a significant battlefield for the soul of America. It's not Joe Biden's solution, which he mentioned a couple weeks ago. He's worried about the soul of America. Well, we need a evangelical focus on the soul of America, because that's the Lord's only answer.
Amen.
You know, this is probably one of the most important books I recommend. I keep it out here on my set all the time. I recommend everybody to get this book. This is the new enlarged edition of Eye to Eye. This is a book about what does God think about Jerusalem and facing the consequences of dividing Israel.
Exactly.
And
now, the original book right here, the Eye to Eye, many of you have this original book, and I cannot tell you, William, how many times
it's about half the size.
Refer to your book on this set countless times. I mean, it's just, we always have it over there grabbing it when Jim says the book Eye to Eye. But now, the new, and I don't want to say improved, it's just that you've added so much more.
So updated and expanded. The original book was 300 pages. I took some pages out, but what we have here is George Bush's last 4-year term, which wasn't in the original Eye to Eye, both terms of Barack Obama, and up to Hurricane Harvey for Trump. So we have 72 new catastrophes and events that have taken place when we applied pressure.
Wow. You have
Hurricane Harvey's in this book,
my
which just came off the press a few hours ago. The ink's probably wet on this one.
Yes, we just finished printing the book. My printer held off. We were able to stop it on Friday, had it printed on Monday, and it got to the street.
Could Harvey and Irma, was it Irma?
Yeah.
Could they be connected to Israel also, do you think?
Correct. And I'll put it this way. Every major hurricane that we've had since October of 1991 have had a relationship to what we were doing with the state of Israel. Every one. And that's been a lot. And I think that what's important to understand, when you have these situations, when you have hurricanes, you look to see what the White House is doing with the state of Israel. And if it's a significant event, you start doing your homework. And what was fascinating about Hurricane Harvey, for the lack of a better word, because it was a very difficult time for my many friends and some family members in Texas, was the fact that President Trump's son-in-law was in the Middle East in secretive meetings in Qatar, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Actually, then he went to Jeddah, United Arab Emirates, in Abu Dhabi. Then he was in Jordan, and then he was in Egypt, and then he came to Israel the day Hurricane Harvey reformed after having been pretty much finished as a storm for 3.5 days. It was finished. But what's interesting about the trip, it was so secretive that none of the U.S. press picked it up. CBS was trying to find out, and they did finally call the Secret Service and said, "Where's Jared Kushner?" He says, "Well, he's in Doha, Qatar today." That was on August 21st. And then he goes to Jeddah on the 22nd. Then he goes to Abu Dhabi on the 22nd. And then he goes to Amman, Jordan on the 23rd. And then Egypt on the 23rd. And then to Israel. But the importance here is they have a comprehensive plan. In some ways, a brilliant plan of being able to bring all the Sunni countries, Israel, and the United States under the same umbrella. That the United States will support the Sunnis against Iran, which is the #1 threat in the Middle East right now. That is the #1 threat, is Iran. So when Jared Kushner was able to get an audience with President Trump with 50 Muslim leaders in May, this is all part of the plan. We're going to come up with a comprehensive Middle East peace plan that's going to normalize relationships with Israel's and the Sunni country, but the component, Jim, which set things off, which helped accelerate Hurricane Harvey, was the fact that it's going to require Israel's land to be part of this grandiose plan.
And the rule is, anytime America has tried to divide Israel, God allows our land to be divided or injured.
We have catastrophic events happen in America. We've had 127 in eye to eye. What's interesting is NOA.
Is this the new number?
Yeah, that's 127.
You got to get the new book. You got to have it in your house. It's like having it in a dictionary. This is the new dictionary. You got to have it. This is the dictionary of the eye to eye of what it means, the consequences of dividing Israel. If you've got family that don't believe in God, don't believe the Bible's true, get this. I've recommended and recommended. I wish by now every Christian should have this in their home. This is for the unbeliever. Because when they read, every time, I mean the day of, the big storm that hit down in New Orleans, probably the worst catastrophe that we all were involved with in our modern history. Wouldn't you say?
Katrina.
What caused that storm, do you think? Or what caused...
Well, Jim, I'll throw this sentence to kind of lead into this. We have 127 events. And according to NOAA, the official count is we've had $171 billion catastrophes since October of 1991, when the perfect storm was sending 30-foot waves into President George Bush's home. George Herbert Walker Bush.
And he did what at that
He
moment?
was calling on Israel to give up Judea, Samaria. He called it the West Bank in Jerusalem, but in Madrid, Spain, he's calling on Israel to give up Judea, Samaria, and East Jerusalem. That was the beginning of the Land for Peace process. So we've had $171 billion events since Madrid. We have 127 events in eye to eye, and over 100 of these events are billion-dollar catastrophes. So that's over 60% of the major billion-dollar catastrophes that we've had in the last 26 years have a direct relationship to U.S. pressure on Israel to divide their covenant land.
What happened in Katrina that...
Well,
wasn't it numbers that were the same in Katrina that was in Israel? I don't.
Oh, the parallels
I
are
haven't
amazing.
memorized your book, but
well, what happened with Katrina is on August. It was August. I believe it was the 28th, 2005. President Bush congratulated Ariel Sharon for making a courageous decision to evacuate 9,500 Jews, or evict 9,500 Jews from their home. And that's exactly what happened. So President Bush literally picked up the phone, called Ariel Sharon, and congratulated him for making that difficult decision. Within a couple hours, tropical depression formed just off the Bahamas, which is really rare for a storm, especially one that became of that magnitude. The next day, it was Tropical Storm Katrina. Within 48 hours, it was Hurricane Katrina. It hit the southeast part of Florida, worked its way into the southwest, went out to the Gulf, regained strength, and hit the United States, an area of 91,000 square miles, the size of the United Kingdom. The parallels of the terminology being used to explain what happened during 7 days in Israel as 9,500 Jews were forced from their home was the same language that was used to explain what had happened to the people there in the southern Gulf Coast. And I might add, 34 straight days in Washington, D.C., in our 3 newspapers, the lead story was Hurricane Katrina. And a friend of mine who'd been a correspondent for 30 years said President Bush never got over what happened with the terror events of 9/11 and what happened with Hurricane Katrina. These 2 major record-setting events that had a connection to Israel both had catastrophic events happen on his government, on his politics, and it actually led to Barack Obama being elected president.
And even 9/11 had its connection to Israel.
17 days prior to 9/11.
I'm going to go through this whole book.
Yeah.
I'm like, I really want to get back to the 2 hurricanes now. I wasn't going to get this quick into it, but I think everybody wants to know what's going on. How were these 2 of the biggest hurricanes and the biggest flood in the history of Texas and what's happened in Florida? Florida is far more devastated. They're having such a time getting it all back. Half of Florida has been out of power for days, and as they were going along, they found 8 dead in a nursing home. But the tragedy is, they say the Keys, part of the Keys, are just literally wiped out, just absolutely wiped out.
Well,
and this has been. It's not that they're just hurricanes. 2 major hurricanes of all time.
We've never had 2 Category 4s in the same year, ever, especially of this magnitude. These will be in the top 1, 2, or 3 biggest hurricanes in U.S. history. It'll be right there with Katrina.
So what
in that
basically kicked off at this point, Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law, was negotiating with Israel and talking to Israel at that moment. And at the beginning of it,
Well, let me summarize. The day, just think, Jim, this storm was history for 3.5 days. There was no advisories from the National Hurricane Center for 3.5 days. And Kushner arrives in Jerusalem Wednesday night, August 23rd, and noon, that's about noon our time here in the U.S., this storm reformed. And within 24 hours, Kushner and Greenblatt and Powell met with Netanyahu, and they met with Mahmoud Abbas, with the Palestinians, and Kushner committed to Abbas that President Trump in the next 2 to 3 months is going to sponsor Land for Peace conference, and he promised to meet with Netanyahu and Abbas at the UN here shortly, at the UN General Assembly. Immediately at the time and right after that meeting, Hurricane Harvey jumped into a Category 3 and 4 category, slowed down, obtained all this water in the Gulf, and worked its way, Gulf of Mexico, and worked its way towards Texas, Corpus, Houston, east of Houston, which happened to be, not to be trivial, but or trite, this was the home city of President George Herbert Walker Bush that started the Land for Peace process 27 years ago. Yeah. And I have family that lives in Houston. You all have been in Texas. Yeah. My wife's from the Corpus Christi area. Texas was devastated. This is a great Christian state. Yes. This is one of the great Christian states in our country.
Love Texas.
But it could have been much worse. We had friends in Corpus that had been praying for many years. Congressman Meisel's wife, Ruth Meisel, said, we have been praying this prayer for Corpus since '84 when we got hit by the last major event. So it kind of curved out and missed answered prayer. It kind of moved away from Corpus. You know, that was also the thing is, Florida could have been, the situation in Florida could have been much worse. But the prayer networks that were set up, not only in Florida, but around the country, that kept that storm offshore. I mean, Tampa, supernatural miracles. It could have,
I'm so glad you said that, because I've got to say this. CTN is located, their headquarters studio.
Right.
These are the people who've been with me my whole life almost. And they gave me free airtime to get started back up on my feet. Mm-hmm. And so when I saw that storm, it was doing crazy things. And then it was headed towards Tampa Bay.
Yes.
And I'm honestly, and it was headed Fort Myers, Dan Betzer,
Yes.
big TV station there.
Yes.
Dan Betzer is one of my dearest friends and a godly man. I just talked to him,
Yes.
and I'm so excited. He said, we're unscathed.
Yeah.
And there's that big dome church there. And he said, God spared us totally,
No doubt.
which is a miracle. Our favorite island, Sanibel, forgive us for doing that, saying that, but that's where we've gone to over the years. And it said Sanibel was going to be gone. It's not gone. But here's the thing. Our network, we're on all out Florida. Probably the #1 state that we broadcast in is Florida. Mm-hmm. So I'm calling I'm calling Orlando.
Yes, with
the
Super Channel.
Claude Bowers.
Right, Channel 55.
Claude Bauer, and building, they've just finished their big building, been building on for years.
Right.
Claude Bowers is one of the most awesome people on earth. Mm-hmm. He's one of the very few people that instead of raising my rates when I'm on television, he'll lower them. It's just not normal. You know, it's just not normal. It's just God thing. It's a God thing that has. And so we've been calling around to all of our stations there.
We got ahead of Bob DeAndre.
Yes. And we're not off one station.
It's a miracle.
All of our stations, all of them in Florida. Now, all of CTN, from what Bob was saying, we're on generators. But I think one channel, it was off an hour until they could get the generator up and running.
Mm-hmm. Don't go away. We'll be right back after this special message.
The last few weeks, there's been storms. It seems like every day something's happening somewhere. And I found out that people had our generator.
Yes.
In this box. Can you look at this box right here? What is this, Lori?
It's my own personal truck that I use as
Ricky, put the flowers over there.
I use as a little
coffee table.
Coffee table, yeah.
Open this up, Ricky, on that side here. This is our trunk. This is where we keep a generator all the time.
Absolutely.
And so I come over here and open this thing up. So this is our fuelless generator. And also in here is the second layer of battery power.
Yeah.
And so this, plug it in there a minute,
Actually,
Ricky.
here's the cord to the television.
Here's the cord
right
to
here.
the television right there. Just plug that into there. So we'll plug that in. Now look over here while the television's warming up. This
Just turning on.
is in here. I mean, you just leave them in here.
Yeah, you just leave them right plugged in, leave them
Do
right
I
in
get
there.
too excited over this?
No, you don't.
No, but I mean, pitch dark. The power's gone out.
Turn
These
on
come
these.
with it.
Right.
And there's 15 feet, 15-foot long cords
They're plastic.
that you
so
plug in
Which
there.
is good
They
because
can't
it's hard
break.
to break. Yes,
But this comes with it. This is a valuable. What's the value of this one?
the value of this entire complete
And
kit
what it
is
was worth.
$7,461, but we're
Okay.
offering it for $4,100, which means you're saving $3,361.
But look what the TV's running. That TV's running from this generator
Yes.
right now. Can you see that?
Plugged in right
That's a big screen, and it will run your DirecTV.
Yes.
It will run your Dish network.
Yes.
It will run
Your cable system,
company.
Whatever TV you have, or if you have DVD players with your TV, you can watch DVD.
And I've tested out at our house, Lori.
This is no fuel. That means you can have this in your home. No propane, none of that. And it's safe
We have a microwave that goes out with this offer.
It comes with it.
as a bonus.
All
Now,
of this stuff.
The other thing that you're going to receive is a 25-foot extension cord to the solar panel.
Yes.
And, of course, the solar panels.
And a bonus
And-
solar panel.
Yes.
Did you know that?
Yes.
2 solar
read it.
panels. So this means it charges up twice as fast as last year's model.
You
Yes.
get the actual generator which is an amazing kit just by itself. You get the lithium-ion expansion battery pack. You get the hand crank. You get the new and improved carrying cart, a 25-foot extension cord for the solar panels. You get an EMP bag, the 3rd generation, a 3-light kit, which we've been demonstrating, the microwave, the 12-volt electric blanket. I mean, this is just such an amazing deal. You get 2 solar panels also with this because it plugs right into the generator. This is if you have no electricity, the sun will charge this up. And if you have no sun, the hand crank will do that job. This is probably one of my favorite pieces of the end because if you have to go out of the house.
Every boy wants one of these.
Yeah,
right?
let me just open. This is a tactical flashlight. I mean, these things are absolutely
I love
amazing.
these things.
They're high class. This is
absolutely
good stuff. What if we had a generator and we had to buy gas every day?
Well, first off, as we can see from these events, first gas prices are going up exponentially.
And what's the first thing that goes?
Gas. I mean,
The
down
stations lost
in
gas
Dallas, Texas, I lived there for 2
ability.
years, and there were gas stations completely out of gas when Hurricane Harvey hit. And you have to remember, that's 400 miles away from Houston.
But this is our best deluxe and the best deal. And literally, you're saving $3,361. This is a $7,461 value. This is power for years and years and years and years to come.
Yeah, you know what
with
I love?
no more cost. Do it now. Call us at 1-888-988-1588 or go to our website. There's good shopping there.
There is great shopping. Go to JimBakerShow.com.
And they can write us.
At P.O.
Still.
They still can. Snail mail, but we get it. P.O. Box 7330, Branson, Missouri 65615.
Call now 1-888-988-1588. You can also write Jim at P.O. Box 7330, Branson, Missouri 65615. Or you can order this offer and many others online at JimBakerShow.com. Thank you for your prayers and financial support. It's because of you we can continue to broadcast the gospel of Jesus Christ around the world.
And in this, we saw God's.
Oh, no doubt
There's a
about it.
shaking.
No doubt
Now,
about
I've
it.
heard preachers say that these storms have nothing to do with God's action. God doesn't have anything to do with these. But your book says these things have something to do with
Absolutely, Jim. And the greater the pressure, the greater the corresponding catastrophes. The greater the pressure on Israel, the greater the corresponding catastrophes. When you think of Katrina, the significance of Katrina. When you think of 9/11, God did not produce the evil of 9/11, but he didn't stop it. But for 17 days prior to 9/11, President Bush was negotiating with the Crown Prince Abdullah of Saudi Arabia on what was going to be the most comprehensive peace deal ever given. And he was going to call for 2 states, Israel and the Palestinians, living side by side in peace and security, and 9/11 stopped it. They finished their work on 9/10 and 9/11 stopped it. So we see the magnitudes, and even my Jewish friends, the businessmen that aren't believers at this point, they go, the law of probability of this many events, of this magnitude happening must be off the chart. We're hiring a statistician soon to come up with the probabilities of the fact that you had 100 out of 171 events of this magnitude connected to the state of Israel.
Do you know how many scriptures that says God's in charge of the storms in the sea, in the waves roaring, and on and on and on? I don't want to get in there, but God is the sun, the moon, and the stars also. All of these things, and your book has done what no other book has ever done. It has put it all together in relationship to Israel. I want you to have this in your house. The only way I know to get it is you to get it. And the Signs and Wonders Warning Bundle, as somebody called it. That's a big name. And but for $25, this is the brand new edition, just off the presses. And your last book revealed Obama's legacy. You want to know the truth? One of the great men of God said, thank God that William Koenig wrote this book. Somebody needed to tell the truth.
That's true.
And these 2 books for $25 for the set is amazing.
Thank you, Jim.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
And I want to ask you about this book about Obama's legacy. Could you just give me a quick overview? Because I really feel it's time, and I've got almost 31 questions today that I want to ask you. So you're going to have to stay another day or two.
That'd be great.
Because we're going to ask all the questions you always wanted to ask.
That's it.
But you couldn't find anybody smart enough to know all the answers. Well, we got William Koenig, who lives in the White House. Well, not quite, but his office is in the White House. Yeah. And he lives in D.C.
Yes.
Now, ask your wife about it. What's it like living in the swamp?
Well, fortunately, we just live right across the Potomac into Virginia.
Right. That's
and we have a
great.
wonderful church that we attend, McLean Bible Church.
Oh,
and then you go to work in the famous White House.
In the famous White House, and I have had the opportunity to share the gospel with numerous White House correspondents. What's really interesting is probably 5 of my better friends at the White House are from Middle Eastern countries. Mm-hmm. They're from Muslim homes. They're practicing Muslims, but they're from Muslim homes. So I've been able to point them to some of the major significant events that are taking place in Israel and the Middle East at this time, having to do with their countries and giving them a prophecy lesson. Mm-hmm. And it has been extraordinary. I say, have you heard about Armageddon? They go, oh, for sure, Armageddon, the apocalypse. I said, that's the final battle for the city of Jerusalem prior to the time our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ will return. As a warrior, he won't be coming in on a donkey this time. And I have the opportunity to go from country to country explaining Iran's role, Iraq's role, Syria's role, Russia's role. And it's been fantastic. And I've got 2 Orthodox Jewish friends that are at the White House. And when something major happens in Israel or the Middle East, they go, where is that in the Tanakh or the Old Testament? And I'll say, well, look at this. Look at that scripture. Look at Ezekiel 38 and 39. Look at Jeremiah 49. Look at Isaiah 17:1. One day that city is not going to, Damascus is not going to exist as a city any longer. So that's, Jim, we've made the most of being in a difficult place. I know the Lord planted us there. So it's easier for Claudia and I to be there despite the challenges of being in the swamp when we know that God has us there for his particular purpose at this time.
Absolutely.
And I've been there at the White House now as a correspondent for 16 and a half years. Developed a lot of good friendships.
That's great. I want people to order these 2 books right now. Do it now. Signs, Wonders, and Warnings. But this is the facts. Why do you think God is so concerned about Jerusalem?
Well, I think two things here, Jim, and this is what I noticed when the leaders of the world, mostly have been U.S. presidents, have called on Israel to give up their land. You can feel this collective fury and fire from the God of Israel, thinking that the leaders of the world want to divide the city of Jerusalem and create an Arab state out of the biblical heartland of Israel, Judea and Samaria. Mm-hmm. The God of Israel did not intend for the biblical heartland of Judea, Samaria, and East Jerusalem to be an Arab state. And when they get close to that, or when they come up with a plan, or when they pressure Israel, whether it's taking money from them, or backing off promises they made to them, or putting them in vulnerable positions, you can feel by watching and sensing in the atmosphere and on earth catastrophic events. And that's what I see over and over again. And as I mentioned, the greater the pressure on Israel to divide their land, the greater the corresponding catastrophe. And this has happened for 26 years. And it's, this is his land. I mean, if you put it, it's hard for us to comprehend things the way the Lord does. But based on the scripture and the word, how important Jerusalem is. Zechariah 12:3 talks about the day that Jerusalem will become a burdensome stone. Mm-hmm. And Pastor W.A. Criswell, the First Baptist pastor in Dallas, used to always say, if you want to know where we stand prophetically, watch what they're attempting to doing with the city of Jerusalem. And we can expand that to the state of Israel since the peace process began. So, you know, and that's where our Messiah, Jesus Christ, is returning. So
Yes.
there's no other city in the world that comes close to the biblical significance of the state of Israel and the nations of the world than Jerusalem.
John, this book, Eye to Eye, it's so funny. I can't get over it because it's twice the size almost. I mean, it's heavy, and it's an amazing book. But this book is a calendar. This is a dating book. The date of every event that divided Israel, that events took place. God's signs, and God has signs, people. Don't listen to people that are telling you lies. The Bible is true. And God, he may not cause them all that is by himself, but he has to step back and let things happen, because America, I believe, like Israel, was chosen of God to become a God place, a God state.
No doubt.
And John, you talk about, did God write his calendar in the sky?
In the heavens. Yeah, well, you know, in the last few years, we have talked a lot about Matthew 24,
Yeah.
right? And I think we made the mistake of thinking that God's calendar was in Matthew 24.
Oh.
Okay? Because we go and we look at what it says in Matthew 24 when the disciples met with Jesus on the Mount of Olives, and they say, what will be the sign of your coming in the end of the age? It's funny, you know, they asked for a sign, but Jesus gave a blow by blow. I mean, from verse 4 until verse 28, that's Jesus' answer. You know what I mean? He's laying out the days of sorrows. He's laying out tribulation, and he says, talks about the rebirth of it, trying to figure out an exact period of time for a generation. Okay? I mean, some people say it's 40 years, some people say it's 50, some people say it's 70, some people say it's 100. But you know what? Jesus didn't say that this exact period of time of a generation will be the time of the coming of the Son of Man. No, he said that generation will not pass away. Which means, I believe it's 70 years for a generation, but someone can live to be 80 to 90 or 100. So that statement is a window of time. We're in the window, okay? It's vague. He didn't give a specific number of years. He said someone that was born in 1948 will not pass away till the coming of the Son of Man, okay? Well, now we're, you know, approaching in 3 months, we're going to be 70 years from 1948. But in Revelations 12:1, it says, there was a great sign in heaven. Well, guess what? Matthew 24, you know, the Olivet Discourse. You know, Matthew 24, actually, it's like I call it the trilogy. Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Each of them give their own account of that visit when they were asking Jesus, what would be the sign of your coming? And it's interesting, you know, it's like Luke puts in more detail in some areas than Mark does. But in Luke, let me read this. Because this great sign in heaven that Revelations is talking about is included in the Olivet Discourse. And there will be great earthquakes in various places, and famines and pestilence, and there will be fearful sights and great signs from heaven. Then going over a little further in Luke, it says, there will be signs in the sun, in the moon, and in the stars. That's exactly describing the components of Revelations 12:1. And there are times when it kind of comes together and almost fulfills what's being described here. But this year, it perfectly fulfills what is being described here. And people are trying to turn it into the rapture. I think they're totally missing it. I believe what this is this complements chapter 12, 13, and 14 complements Matthew 24. You know, and I'm not going to have time to go into all the detail of that, but it's like Matthew 24 gave the answer, what will we see before you come? And Revelations 12, 13, and 14 puts a date on it and gives more detail than what was explained in Matthew 24. To my understanding, this event that is going, actually, you know, most people don't realize, everybody's talking about the 23rd of September. The reason everyone's talking about that date is because it's approximately the last date of the Feast of Trumpets. And most prophetic teachers agree the rapture is going to happen on the last day of the Feast of Trumpets, at the last trumpet of that feast. It's just that it's not going to happen this year. And I can tell you why it's not going to happen this year. Okay? But anyway, this is the only event that I know of that you can look ahead and see a date before it happens. And I actually believe that 2017 will be the beginning of the days of sorrows. And
really?
Yes.
I've been feeling we're there already. I mean, there's a lot of rumbling going around, but I'll accept that.
Look at it
I
this
love
way.
to come and reason together and see what's going on.
Well, look at Matthew 24, and I have kind of drawn a conclusion from Matthew 24 that I never saw before. When he says, Jesus answered and said to them, okay, take heed that no one deceive you. In other words, not everybody's going to have the right answer. Mm-hmm. And then he says, there will be wars and rumors of wars. See that you not be troubled. To me, when I started getting this, Jesus is actually laying out the events that will lead up to the days of sorrows. The days of sorrows is the same of the birth pains that will lead up to the beginning of the Great Tribulation. When he said, wars and rumors of wars, don't be troubled, this gave me peace of mind. It's not Korea that's going to trigger the last day events. It's going to be something else. So what did he say? He says, nation will rise against nation. Now that's ethnic group against ethnic group, culture against culture.
Yes.
He says there will be kingdom against kingdom, and that could be spiritual wickedness in high places happening, and it also could be nations taunting each other like what's happening now. It says there will be famine, pestilence. Now I just listed 4, and then it says earthquakes. Now when I first saw this, I thought, you know, this can't be talking about average earthquakes, because average earthquakes happen all the time.
Right.
So I figured it has to be talking about mega earthquakes. Well, if you look at these 5 things, 4 of them are currently in play. Everything except for mega earthquakes. And then when I went over and I read Luke, what did he say? Great earthquakes in different places. So I put out my newsletter, and 3 days later, we have a great earthquake in Mexico. And I believe that we are going to see a number of great quakes in a short period of time, because
I think it's next.
Yeah.
I really believe what I'm hearing.
There are literally prophets saying that there's 4 judgments coming to America. The first one is mega hurricanes. And then it said before they clean up on the hurricanes, there will be 2 mega earthquakes hitting America. Now, does that mean it's going to happen really soon? Not necessarily, but it could. You know, so, but listen what Jesus said when he said earthquakes. The earthquakes being the uncompleted element of the things that will bring on the days of sorrows. Basically, what these people that are hoping for an early rapture are forgetting is that, number one, they're forgetting the birth pains. Jesus described the days of sorrows, and it's like we want to just jump over that and just jump into the rapture.
Right.
When his disciples asked Jesus, he says, Jesus, come on, give us some hints here. What will be the sign of your coming in the end of the age? What are we going to see before you come? Well, if you look at the answer, I just gave you part of it. It says, these are the beginning of sorrows. Sorrows is not going to be over in a day. I hate to disappoint you.
Yes.
Okay? And the days of sorrows mega quakes in various places. We're going to see that. I believe we're going to see that very soon. When these mega disasters hit our country, all it has to do is take out America. You literally affect the economies around the world. We will literally see nations collapsing as America collapses. If we see the economic collapse of America, I've been hearing prophets say that the economy, the dollar, will crash. It'll be devalued to 50 cents on the dollar in 2018. I keep saying, well, what if it happens sooner? But guess what? 2018 is only 3.5 months away.
That's right.
You know, so all this stuff doesn't have to happen this month, but I believe we are entering the days of sorrows as we see mega quakes unfold. But back to why the rapture can't possibly happen this month is, listen to this. As soon as he said, this is the beginning of the days of sorrows, then what did he say? Then, after, then they will deliver you up to tribulation. The great tribulation follows the days of sorrows. The birth pains will literally lead to such economic collapse and turmoil around the world. It'll set the stage where the nations of planet Earth will willingly give up their sovereignty and join a global solution that will be the beast government that Revelations talks about. We have to have a period of time to soften up the nations of the earth to where they would be willing to give up their sovereignty, give up their own currencies, and sign up for the global solution. So anyway, the next part of Jesus' answer says, they will deliver you up to tribulation, kill you. You will be hated by all nations for my name's sake. And then there will
Are we there? I feel like we're there myself.
Well, it's spotty.
I feel like it.
People
Anyway.
in the Middle East, people are being beheaded.
Yeah.
But guess what? That's going to be a global thing. We are going to see persecution of Christians around the globe. And let me tell you, they're making it hate speech to talk about Muslims in any kind of a negative way. It's hate speech to talk about alternative lifestyles in a negative way. You go and you start preaching from the Bible that alternative lifestyles is a sin against God, they're setting the stage so they can throw you in jail. In Canada, it's already against the law to preach on those subjects out of the Bible. So that's coming to America.
Why don't people get this where we're living? And this is the thing. This is why this book, Eye to Eye, is powerful for me. Because you have 100 and how many now?
127.
127 events where our country tried to divide the land of Israel, and God sent a storm to say, stop it, children. Don't do that. Please order the book today. $25 for both books. 2 books for $25. Just off the press. You can get that for $20. And then if you want to get, there's the share with somebody, you get 3 of them for $2. So if you get 2 books, you get a third one free. So that's $40. And we have a baker's dozen, which we don't do very often, only a book that everybody must share. This would be a great part of start buying your good Christmas books. Even if your grandkids or your kids, if they don't like Christian books, if they don't like food, just do it anyhow. You know, one day they'll be loving you for giving them some answers. And the baker's dozen is for $150 for 13 books. A baker's dozen is 12 plus 1. So you're saving $110 on the baker's dozen too. But you become a missionary and pass these out. This is something your well-educated children and grandchildren need to read. I'll tell you what, I would believe in God just reading this book.
Well,
I say the
so
odds
amazing.
can't be there. You know?
Right. Absolutely.
And you know, and William, you just put everything together so easy. This is easy to read. You think that would be a real hard read, but you made it so easy for us, the average person like me, to understand. I mean, you just have, like, I just turned to page 184, a summary of actions and resulting catastrophes or events during presidency of George W. Bush, 2001 through 2004. So you actually have the date, the action, the date, and the catastrophe, the event. So it's just all lined up for you, so simple to understand and read. And these are just pure facts. That's what's great about it.
That's right.
So order your books. You go online to order any of the food, any of the items that we offer here. You just go to JimBakkerShow.com,
Yes.
and all the items are there.
Right.
They can also write to us if they want, Lori.
Yes, you can still write, like Tammy Sue says, snail mail. We love the snail mail still. It's P.O. Box 7330, Branson, Missouri, 65615.
And we hope everybody will go online and order food. Get yourself
Yes.
ready. Why not be, if you don't have a lot of money, you say, well, I'll start with one bucket.
Yes.
You could do that. What we're doing this month, we're sending a second bucket. If you order this one bucket, and this is 4 months of food.
That's right.
And this is the food that has honey wheat bread. You can make bread or rolls or whatever you want to, or you make bean burger buns with it if you want. But it has also black bean burgers in this. And it has all of these items: creamy stroganoff, cheese pizza, fettuccine alfredo, Italiano marinara, macaroni and cheese, creamy chicken rice, Spanish rice, cheese broccoli rice. Remember my mother made, Donna, do you remember when my mother made Spanish rice? Mother made Spanish rice. She put a lot of butter and sugar on it, though I don't know how Spanish that was, but it was sure good.
That's fun.
And then cheesy broccoli rice, white rice, instant mashed potatoes, hearty vegetables, chicken soup, Lori's favorite, creamy potato soup, which it literally doubles because it's so thick. If you want to make soup out of it, you got to add more water because it's more like mashed potatoes, mashed potato soup. But then you have the morning mousse, wonderful milk. I'll tell you, when we brought this milk to the flood zone, and we brought these buckets,
Because they come in just packed.
they were, especially the lady we've been telling you about, who's the chef, she could not believe the milk.
Right. Well, it's fantastic. It's fabulous.
How good is it? Ricky, how good is it? the
I
milk?
personally love it. I drink a lactose-free milk, which is amazing, and this tastes just the same as that. It's so good.
And you've drank the milk.
Absolutely. My kids drink the milk, and they don't know any different.
I think it's richer than real milk.
Yes.
Yes,
Oh,
it
it's
And
creamy.
this has real milk in it, but it's got other vitamin, mineral things that are real.
Yes.
Now, what would people be doing right now if they had one of these in their house in every flood zone, in every tornado, every hurricane? All the people would have one of these. For at least for 4 months, they stay alive. This offer is the deluxe food, and it's $175 for 4 months of food. But I'm giving this to the flood. I'm talking to the different flood zones. Now we're getting requests from other places, besides Houston. And so anyone who does this deal,
Yes.
we call it the Hurricane Relief Offer, we give this bucket, Staying Alive bucket, we send that to flood victims.
Right.
Which is also 2.5 months of food. So
Right.
that's
And-
going to help somebody out for a while.
Yeah.
Exactly. And these are the staples that are in here. It's the quick oats, the potato flakes, the vegetable stew blend, white rice, which is always a great multiplier, and pinto beans, morning mousse, milk again, buttermilk pancakes. And,
That's so good.
yeah, they're all good. The thing about this food, I'll say it over and over and over again, one of the great experts in survival food said, this is the Cadillac of food.
Don't go away. We'll be right back after this special message.
October 1st, this bucket, we can't do it any longer. The price has to go back up to where it belongs.
The Staying
It's so
Alive.
cheap. They marked it way down, and we can't even offer it. It's through. They won't let me do it. 7 years of this is what price? Anybody know?
$1,500.
For 7 years of
Yes,
food.
that's why we were talking about the pricing, and you said keep it tight. Because we developed that.
I had a dream about something coming.
Yes.
And I made up this, and I heard them singing, "Staying Alive." I'm sorry, I can't sing, but staying alive, staying alive. And this is what God said: I want you to do something for the people that don't have the amount of money to buy the deluxe pantry stuff, the Yum Yum pantry. But this here, 1 year of this is what?
$300.
$300 for 1 year of the staying alive. 2 years is $600 then?
Yes, sir.
$600.
Yes, sir.
And
you're going to get 10 buckets with
listen, if you don't, people are starting to order. It's gold now. I've been saying it's going to be gold. It's gold.
But the gold, you know, what happens is after the storm is the aftermath.
Right.
And that's when people start lining up and figuring out they have nothing left.
But when you say the big boys are buying up the food, they know they're going to be able to charge any amount for
like
that
Jim
food.
says, that becomes gold when you don't have
Exactly.
Well, Pastor Jim, we did actually see it during the Fukushima quake. We saw that smaller bucket. It was only 275 servings. Ours are 374. Those are going on eBay for $1,000.
That's right.
$1,000 a bucket each.
Well, everybody's finishing up, but you're getting more to eat, I see. But is there anybody like to make a comment?
I really didn't think it'll taste this way. I really thought it was going to be kind of like sawdust.
Yes.
But it's just like real food.
Yes, amen.
Real food.
Thank you. You're right.
It was great, Jim. It's delicious. I could live on it very comfortably.
Yes.
I hope you do. I hope you have some.
Oh, I have some. Don't worry. You taught me well.
Yeah, this is 30-year shelf life food in this staying alive bucket. It has, I think, just 7 different varieties of food.
It's your staples. It's
quick oats,
perfect.
Mashed potatoes, vegetable stew blend, white rice, pinto beans, of course the morning moose milk, and the amazing low-fat alternative, and then the beautiful, I tell you, the people love the pancakes in Houston.
They do.
They couldn't believe. They thought this was...
they thought it was Miss Luann's homemade recipe that she's been making for years. And so...
And I wish you could hear her tell how she fell in love.
And the more I learn about your product, oh my God, I wish I could get on the rooftop, because people don't see the value. And the more that you work with the product, the more that you can see it's not just a disaster product. It could be an everyday product. It could be a vacation product. I mean, there's just, you know, for young people that don't like to cook, don't want to cook, my Lord, give them a bucket for Christmas.
That's what we do with our family.
It needs no refrigeration.
No refrigeration.
That's the miracle.
Add water. Oh my God. I mean, it's been the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
Call now, 1-888-988-1588 to order today's special offers. You can also write Jim at P.O. Box 7330, Branson, Missouri 65615. Or you can order this offer and many others online at jimbakershow.com. Thank you for your prayers and financial support. It's because of you we can continue to broadcast the gospel of Jesus Christ around the world.
If I heard that a hurricane was coming, or if I know that I'm maybe living on, you know, where there's going to be earthquakes coming up, you know, I was born and raised in Arizona, so my whole life I always heard that, you know, we're going to have beachfront property because California is going off. I mean, this has been predicted for many years, and it's going to happen. The signs are very evident. But the thing is, I would literally, I bet we were in these people's homes, Mondo, weren't we? We were there.
Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking, if I knew that we were having these horrible rains and I had to get out of my house, I would take my generator, the portable generator. I would take a bucket of food. I'm talking just some pure basic supplies.
Absolutely.
Get these things in my car with a few other things that we offer. Our flashlights. People are saying they couldn't even find flashlights. I've heard so many news reports.
They were gone.
I'm going crazy going, People don't have flashlights? I mean, it's like we take it for granted. We offer them all the time to you.
Go to our website. We don't have time to go to but Lori, they need to go to there. I don't know how many. We have. You know what? We didn't do this. Your birthday month is almost over. We have for $60 deal. We got the best $60 deals in the world. Forgive me for saying it in the middle of this, but flashlights is one of the deals because you said I want flashlights for my birthday deal, and we've got flashlights that charge up with the sunshine, need no batteries.
Solar.
You need a house full of these kind of batteries.
Absolutely. And I would have Silver Soul with me. I mean, I've made a list that I'm watching all these weather
Lori,
events.
Silver Soul in a flood.
How in the world? We were down.
I would have pneumonia right now. I'd have pneumonia when in Houston. The smell,
the mold.
Help me, Mondo.
The mold was so strong when you walk down the street, you could taste it in your mouth. It was horrible.
Something smells so bad you can taste it?
Yeah.
The mold was like bitter.
But everyone.
If you didn't have, Lori brings it with her everywhere we go. We always do. I bring it in my kit too, my travel kit. But I started getting it in my throat, my lungs. And I thought, oh, God, please. I have pneumonia every time I get into that kind of thing, allergy stuff. And I chug-a-lug it, as they say. I mean, I just get up there and you can't overdose on the thing. And it knocked it out, Lori.
Silver Soul, of course, it kills mold, bacteria,
I wish
viruses.
everybody'd get some now.
Everybody should get a starter's kit. Everybody, just go to the website, order silver. That is something you should always have in stock.
Oh, it's $60. They got it on the screen. Thank you, Director.
Thank you, guys.
That's the Lori's Daily Silver Essentials. It's got several.
It's a liquid. It's a gel. Lori's applicator bottles. You love those 3 applicator bottles. And a book. It has the book.
It tells all about the fighting chance.
You wanted that in there because people don't know what to do with it, or if they don't know what to do with it, it's 300 or 400 items in there that it kills, like you said.
Yeah.
Bacteria, virus, mold, and it's gone.
It's perfect. And so
all tested, all verified. We don't offer anything that isn't tested.
No.
Just be prepared before it's too late to get prepared.
Yes.
I want to thank William Koenig for being with us.
Thank you
for taking your time. Appreciate it so much.
Thank you, Lori.
Get the book. Get both books, please. You want them both. Get the book deal for $25, or all the other deals. You can get the Baker's Dozen or whatever, but get the William Koenig's. This book right here will end up winning your souls and your family to Christ. It's amazing. It's amazing because when they see the truth of what God's doing, people think God's dead. They even said it remember when they used to say God is dead? He's not dead. He's working right now.
Yeah.
So thank you, William, for writing this.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming all the way
Great to be
down.
with you again.
Once you think about coming back.
Look forward.
Remember, God loves you. Call us 1-888-988-1588. Our operators are there 24 hours a day, toll free. God loves you. He really does. Bye-bye for today.
Bye-bye. We love you.